The toothpaste, the olive oil, the shampoo, everything. He lets his 10-year-old nephew beat him at virtual tennis, even though he can straight up slay his 10-year-old nephew in virtual tennis. When the toilet paper is running low, Rich replaces the roll on the actual holder, not just on the back of the toilet. Rich is texting and driving. Rich, no. What are you doing, Rich? I was just telling everyone how great you are. Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. Those are just the ways that you can get at us with the comments during the show here. By no means required, because well, if you're hearing this, you're already in the right place in all of those places. So you're more than welcome to join in however you like to. We'll have those phone lines open up a little bit later in the show, as we do, because having the discussion about the things that affect us here in the borderland, even in these rapidly changing times, don't totally want to say unprecedented. That has been, overused phrase. But, I mean, some of these things, there have been problems that have been gone through before. We've made them through before. And we just got to keep doing it this time and not allow things to get unduly blown out of proportion sometimes. Because it's, Chicken Little was exciting because he was saying something the world is going to end. And that has been a formula for news and media for years, etc. But we try to talk about what the reality is. What's going on? What are the factors? What are the situations we are encountering here? And what can we do about them? And the discussion, I think, is what's going to carry us through. So that is what we will continually focus on. Of course, we've got the international conflicts continuing to drive conversations and looking at some kind of throwback moments. When I say we've been through things before, the whole situation going on with people now trying to set up gas stations across the border because of different market conditions, petrochemical company and government controls happening within Mexico. I remember growing up seeing the temporary gas stations being set up just on the other side of the border here, and not totally seeing that just yet, but it seems like it might be on that kind of a path here with the way gas prices still hovering well above $4 a gallon at this point here. Not a whole lot of new coming out of that specifically, but more border focuses. I really didn't realize I called such a shot on it for the end of this week when I mentioned that I am sure the border will come back up later here, both with our discussion yesterday and that new bit happening here today, of course, with Texas Governor Greg Abbott holding one of his first major news conferences post-election now, fully securing his victory, though, of course, notably including, his renomination anyway, victory not technically assured, even if there are certain assumptions about Texas that could be made, even if there are a lot of hopes and dreams and maybe, expenditures probably coming in the meantime. What he was doing is holding that roundtable marking the first year of the, expansion majorly of Operation Lone Star in, and I said this wrong last time, we'll correct it this time, Weslaco, Texas. I said it wrong in emphasis on the wrong syllable last time here. So he mentioned that in his news conference, among several other things, that a year ago, Texas faced unprecedented crisis at our border created by President Biden's open border policies, but Texas immediately stepped up and took decisive action to stem the tide of people, drugs, and weapons flooding our state. Makes me wonder about that there a bit, though, because, of course, part of what he is talking about there is the fentanyl crisis, the Mexico-Texas connection. So I think that's not totally buying his line there, saying that, yes, there has been a lot that has been needing to be done on the Texas side of things, but if he's totally touting success with it, kind of goes a little bit against something else he was saying, that there has been a serious continual flood over there. So probably going to try to parlay that into, therefore, we need more efforts here because we've been successful in our own rights, but that as the way he keeps putting it, inaction of the federal government strongly. Again, you would be hard-pressed just looking at the campaign announcements and the ads that had come out during the election, and will probably continue apace headed into the general election, that Abbott wasn't running for president, because all he has mentioned, besides some spare mentions, of course, local boy Robert Francis Beto O'Rourke, who now has, of course, on his own secured the Democrat nomination for governor, setting up I'm excited about the challenge here, even if it's going to be a weird campaign seasons. And John Brasleton saying Beto's dreams that will never come true in his wildest dreams. We'll see. Stranger things have happened in Texas, though we've been in a strange circumstance as it is. We'll keep talking about it. Don't worry. More specifically, what the Abbott is saying, again, you would be hard-pressed to not assume that he's essentially running for president. Really, my back of the hand kind of notes on this is that if it was for some reason a clearly that there wasn't the former president going to run again, or there was just an unclear field overall, for some reason Donald Trump there was a very concrete reason he wasn't running or something along those lines, I think that this would be, all of these could pretty easily double as then national campaign kind of statements out there. Because, I mean, talking about the Biden administration as pretty much the entire focus of this news conference that was also further attended by not so secure in their election, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. That's its own situation here, but also in attendance there, NIMCAD, TDEM Chief, Stacey McCraw, DPS Director, Adjutant General of Texas, Deputy Adjutant General of Texas. So more of a Texas wide kind of swath of officials here, more that they did tout what they were dealing with it, and then signing laws to provide $3 billion in funding for Texas border security efforts, Operation Lone Star, and deploying the thousands of National Guard soldiers and Texas Department of Public Safety troopers, arresting and jailing migrants trespassing or committing other state crimes in Texas. That an interesting one, getting noted by the Texas Tribune here as well today, that Webb County Democratic stronghold set to welcome Texas Governor Greg Abbott's controversial migrant arrests. Of course, there have been even some local federal offices that have been having some, or should I say courts more specifically, having some questions about how those arrests are actually going to hold up. But in the meantime, there is certainly infrastructure being used and going to continue to be used as we continue to see this situation evolve. So Abbott very much touting the success even in the face of failure, I guess, might be the way he's kind of trying to thread that needle of both, we've done great things even if the situation is horrible and we need to do more. I think that's the main message trying to come out there. And, well, there's other federal things going on here, including that big omnibus bill that we're going to have to get into here in a bit. But we're already going to be due for that break here right now. Whole lot to talk about today because we are going to be joined here in studio by, well, another candidate of a sort here. We're going to be talking with Guadalupe Giner, candidate for the, well, county judgeship here in El Paso. But it's a little bit more complicated than we might be used to. You may have noticed wasn't on the previous ballot, and that's by, well, Texas law. So we will get into that, talk with her about her campaign and these specifics and what this might mean. Basically, a race that's otherwise outside of contributing forces would have been set, maybe not so much. So we'll talk all about that and more coming out of this break here. Again, we got comments coming in. If you want to leave it over there on the social media, more than welcome to throughout the show. We'll be talking about all these issues and more. In the meantime, due for that first break, so stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, where you can leave those comments. If you're terrestrial radio, stay tuned. We'll get those phone lines open. Back after a minute here on News Radio 690 KTSM. With all the stuff going on around the world, my travel plans are looking a little bit dicey, but I am still confident that I'm going to be able to experience flavors from around the world because of the local company Enhanced Flavors, your local source of quality flavored olive oils and balsamic vinegars. Got the chance to several years back now go over to Europe and try some of the fantastic things over there. And I've been searching for similar kind of things ever since. And now knowing that there's a good local supplier of that has made me very happy, because they get their olive oils imported from Tunisia, Italy, Greece, and Spain, both extra virgin olive oil and flavored varietals, plus all of their balsamic vinegars, of course, straight from the Modena province of Italy. And that's been a real one for me and my family to try and find down. So very excited to be trying these out, and you can try them for yourself as well by going to enhancedflavors.com. That's enhancedflavors.com. Over 40 flavors of extra virgin olive oil, flavored balsamic vinegars, and all the varieties that you want. Also find them, of course, out at local events as more of those continue starting up. Those farmers markets that I love going out to, because chance to get outside, do things. And I know everyone's wanting to do more these days, even in the face of this uncertainty. It still doesn't mean that you can't take care of yourself and spice up your life. Again, enhancedflavors.com, the place to find them, enhancedflavors.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Loop 375 Trans Mountain at Wrestler. Eastbound lanes are open. Westbound lanes are still closed. Gateway Boulevard westbound at Westmoreland. An accident reported there. An injury accident with medical crew on the scene. address at East Missouri Avenue. And on Pebble Hills Boulevard, just inside the loop, that pursuit of an armed carjacking subject is over. Officers have the subject in custody. Carrie Edwards, El Paso Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples Print and Marketing Services help small business print big with wide format signs and banners. Right now, get $10 off custom printed signs, banners, and posters when you spend $50 or more. Offer ends 3/26. Visit staples.com/signage for details. Staples, the working and learning store.
If you are covered by Medicare and Medicaid, then El Paso Health Plus Medicare Advantage Plan offers great supplemental benefits designed specifically for El Pasoans, such as $3,500 a year in dental benefits, $300 in vision, and a quarterly OTC card with $250 to spend on health and wellness products. Plus, generous benefits for hearing, podiatry, home-delivered meals, and so much more. Plus, our new Get Fit benefit to keep you active and social, as well as our new Healthy Eats program. At El Paso Health Plus, we go the extra mile for our members because this is our home, and our local knowledgeable staff is here to help you get more benefits, more services, more from your health plan. If you are covered by Medicare and Medicaid, call us 833-742-3125 or visit ephmedicare.com. El Paso Health Plus, your local Medicare Advantage plan.
Hey, Mario Courtney Lopez here. We know life's moments are definitely better together.
And Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to always be ready to make the most of these moments.
Whether in studio, on the red carpet, or around the house, having the confidence to get close is amazing.
Our lives are better together with Smart Mouth. Just 2 rinses a day means fresh breath for 24 hours.
Find it at your favorite drug, grocery, or supercenter store, or save 20% at smartmouth.com/radio.
Dangerously easy to steal your identity during tax season because so much sensitive info is all together.
Before we start the annual meeting of Sean's personal info, has anyone seen Social Security number?
Not me.
Nope.
Nuh-uh.
Oh, no. He's been stolen.
LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. If you become a victim, we'll work to fix it. No one can monitor all transactions, but you can save up to 25% off your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in however you may be doing. So a lot of ways to interact with the show, even at this early point in our 2 hours, because, of course, we got the social pages, comments coming in there already. Michael Pettis, John Browson, Maria Kalman. we're going to come with an interesting comment there about our, leadoff story there about the conference being done, the first one just post-election, of course, from Governor Greg Abbott and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, the primary features of it here, presenting Abbott being reactive and not proactive regarding the border here. So we'll probably have to get more into that because, of course, border issues, again, I did not realize that I was doing the whole self-fulfilling prophecy when I said I'm sure they'll creep back into the news and then, well, pretty immediately here. But talking right now, we are, of course, not even just in the aftermath of our own election, but got the ones that are coming up from future challenges, some runoffs, but some that may seem set. May not be so because of, well, interesting quirks when it comes to Texas election law. So to talk more about that here, we are now and joined here in studio by Guadalupe Giner, independent candidate for the El Paso County Judgeship. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, because it was something that when I first saw the ballot as set was a little bit disappointed, as I often am. I mean, anytime there's an uncontested race, I die a little bit inside because it makes me sad that no one has taken that step here. And you have been an announced candidate since before that, but you've made the interesting decision to run as an independent, which in Texas then leads to, well, things outside what people may be used to when it comes to how primaries and elections work.
That's correct.
Okay, so for people who aren't familiar with you, you've called in previously and made the announcement of it here, but for those who may have missed that or aren't familiar with yourself, what is your background and what are the qualifications you feel you bring to the office of Fort County Judge?
Well, I'm almost a lifelong resident of El Paso County. I have lived in other places, but this is home.
Mm-hmm.
And my background is in business. So I have a degree from Park University in business management, and now I'm losing my train of thought. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous.
No, that's all right.
Okay, so I have a degree in business management from Park University, and I have 20 years combined experience in purchasing and planning. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to run for office and just be a different kind of candidate, not look at the Republican or the Democrat side. And I want to use my experience in budgeting, which is, $60 million budgets is what I was in charge of. And I want to use that in the county setting to try to just bring taxes down. Because, we did a little bit of a poll, informal poll, and I thought the pandemic was going to be number one, and it was not. It was taxes.
I mean, the taxes have been a pretty constant background to it, even as I think a lot of people had the assumption, and even if there were a lot of issues caused by the pandemic and particularly the restrictions that came from it, I feel like that was the primary gripe when it came to that seat for the county judge. There was regulations that came along with it. I mean, the whole kerfuffle with the state that, as far as I'm aware, might actually still technically be going on, but have fallen by the wayside in everyone's mind, really. And if they are still anything, maybe contending in place, what have you, probably going to be sunsetted before too long here. But the taxes, that was the kind of major action taken both at the city and county level, was the holding the line in a way, even if we are looking at serious increases happening with property valuations.
Right. And, the county they dropped the tax rate to try to mitigate some of that increase due to the values, but some people still saw a slight increase in their taxes for the El Paso County. But, we have to try to do something because, my husband and I paid off our home recently, and we're still having to set aside monthly to pay for the taxes at the end of the year. So it's like a small, house payment. And that's just what people are complaining about. Now, the county is only one component of your taxes, but what happens is that we don't have enough of a business space in El Paso County, in El Paso City, wherever you want to look at it. And so what happens is that the burden falls upon the taxpayer for the taxes. So if you look like somewhere in Austin, they have a lot of businesses, so they pay taxes. So they shoulder a good chunk of the burden. But for us, it's just the taxpayer. So we need to attract businesses. I know we hear this all the time, but that's going to be one of my things. But I also, in my background, I have a background in purchasing and planning, and I worked for a Fortune 50 company. And in that company, we were tasked with finding savings. So after we developed a product, we had to go back, we had to look at it, we needed to see if it was over-engineered in some way. And so that background is going to help me when I become the next county judge, because what I can do is look at everything and see where we can save money, where something is over-engineered, so to speak. But I'll give you an example. So I was thinking about, how COVID testing, that was a drive-through COVID testing. The next day you would get a your results.
Mhm.
Well, what if we looked at medicine totally different? You know, COVID really affected people. It was, I know people are still hurting and a lot of them have lost family members, but we did learn some things during COVID. And some of those things that we learned was that maybe medicine can be done differently. We can do a telemedicine. Could we perhaps now go to the people with medicine? So, you know, the county right now has 5 or 6 different locations for UMC. You've seen them everywhere.
Right.
They're in Fabens, they're on the east side, they're on the west side. And so my thought, and this is coming from my background and looking for where we can save money. And now with this change in how we're doing things with COVID is we don't need big buildings. People don't want to go to buildings. So could we perhaps look at those and say, you know what, let's put together some mobile units and let's go put a doctor and a nurse in there, go out there, use that to reach people. If they need more help, they can go to UMC if they need testing, things like that. But wow, if we could get rid of 6, 7 buildings that have maintenance and all sorts of utilities and staffing, I don't know if they're open 24 hours, but whatever hours it takes, that would be a huge cost savings to the taxpayer. So those are the things that I've been taught to look at and to find. And so I believe I can bring that expertise to the county.
Again, if you're just joining us, the guest right now is Guadalupe Giner, independent candidate for the El Paso County Judgeship. If you want to find out anything more about her campaign, some of these positions here, you can find her at guadalupe4elpaso.com. I get that posted up over here on the socials here in just a minute. Also, made her page on Facebook, Guadalupe Giner for El Paso County Judge is the full page there. So this is a bit unusual for El Paso, the way you're choosing to go about your campaign. Of course, as an independent, when it comes to making that decision, you mentioned a little bit about it, kind of wanting to cut through it, but given the way that Texas is not exactly friendly to that, like there are extra hoops that we'll get into here, but what made you do that kind of a decision to not be on this partisan ballot? And I mean, there's some, recognition issues that can come along with that. I mean, you're not as immediately presented to voters by matter of fact that comes along with this. It requires then, campaigning in a different way. Why go about it this way?
So in addition to the recognition portion, there's also the dollar portion. So it's actually a lot more difficult to do it this way. But I believe that many people are feeling the way I do. And we're tired of the partisan attacks. We're tired of, if you're a Democrat, I can't talk to you because I'm a Republican. And so I just didn't want to be part of that. And I don't want to have to listen to what other people are telling me I have to do for El Paso County. So I also believe that because of my background, because I have done a budget, I have worked at home, stayed at home for a few years, and I've had to find ways to make ends meet. I believe that I can relate to the people of El Paso County more running as an independent candidate. And hopefully they'll look at me and hear what I'm saying instead of looking at the R and turning off, or looking at that little D behind the name and turning off. So I think that it needs to not be about ideology. I think that is a way to divide us as a community. And what happens is that we're fighting with each other and we're not progressing. And one of the other reasons I decided to run is when you go to San Antonio and you go 6 months after you've been there the first time, or you go to Austin and you're there 6 months later, you see all these changes in that community. And in El Paso County, things don't seem to quite move at that pace. And I believe that right now, because of the conditions in the world, lots of companies are coming back from China into Mexico, Juarez in particular, that we need to capitalize on that here in El Paso County. And so I believe we're at the precipice of something great in El Paso. I don't want to Austinite our El Paso. I love El Paso and how it is. We have our own unique style. That's not my goal, but we have to reach out to businesses and we have to build that business space and we have to look for savings for the taxpayer because they are screaming for relief. Now you add inflation. And by the way, the price of gas today was $4.20.
Yep.
So, we're just getting squeezed. So I'm praying that when I run as an independent and people listen to what I have to say, and because I'm not running as a Democrat or Republican, that they'll give me a chance that they perhaps would not have given me otherwise.
Okay, so then on that point about the economy here, and again, people can see this over on your site, Guadalupe for El Paso is the website there. the one that you're putting there about the economy here. I mean, more than a little bit of some of the points you put forth there are kind of, again, in response to the way that the current county administration has dealt with shutdowns and things like that. So with those seeming to be sunsetting, at least for the most part, we'll see what, I mean, every new day brings something new, I feel like, and new challenges with it. But when it comes to then specifically economic development, from the position of a county judge, what do you feel are some of the major aspects you would take if elected to encourage that economic development?
Well, we have always been tied to maquilas in Juarez. And both my husband and I worked, and a lot of my 20 years of experience are with the big maquila. There was the version here, and of course one in Juarez and in Cuauhtemoc and Delicias. But what I want to do is, what we found sometimes is that the version, let's say I worked for Cardinal Health. We had a Cardinal Health in Juarez, and they would need products, and they were searching in the United States to get them. But there was no way to connect that need with, hey, we can do that here in El Paso for you. Tell me exactly what you're needing. And so they would go, bring it in from somewhere in the Midwest or the East Coast. And so I think we do a good job. I know that Borderplex Alliance is working on doing things like that and bringing in companies into this Borderplex region. But we as El Paso, we need to do better about advocating for ourselves. So as the El Paso County Judge, I would get more involved with that. And we have to meet individually with companies. As a purchasing agent, former purchasing agent, you have to meet with your suppliers to find out what the needs are, and they have to come and see what you need for them to do. We need to do that, and we need to engage at a company level, not just like, hey, we're here, come and tell us what you need, because that's not going to happen. You have to form a relationship.
So more active outreach, so to speak, active relationships.
Correct. That is correct.
Again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Guadalupe Giner, independent candidate for El Paso County Judge. Want to find anything more about her? GuadalupeForElPaso.com is the website. And then over on Facebook, mainly, Guadalupe Giner for El Paso County Judge. Whole thing. You can find it over there. We got to take that next break right now, but come back out of the break, continue our conversation with her and about, again, the complexities of this election, because even though this primary is done, there's more to come to make this work for you. So we'll talk more about that here. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments coming in here, and we'll probably delve into those here a little bit afterwards. And phone lines coming up here before too long as well. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
News update. U.S. immigration authorities are turning to smartphones to keep tabs on immigrants and ensure they attend their deportation hearings. Increasingly, immigrants who are released from detention or stopped on the border are being required to snap a selfie or call to check in with federal agents using an app on their phones. Advocates say it makes immigrants feel trapped, even though some already paid fine to get out of detention. They also worry about how U.S. officials might use data pulled from the app known as SmartLink. Immigration and Customs Enforcement declined to answer questions about the app. And more than 27,000 mail ballots in Texas were flagged for rejection in the first test of new voting restrictions enacted across the United States. It puts the rate of rejected mail ballots in Texas on track to significantly surpass previous elections. That's according to county-by-county reports obtained by the AP following last week's first in the nation primary in Texas. I'm Erica Castillo with the Steve Fox 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Loop 375 Trans Mountain at Wrestler. Eastbound lanes are open. Westbound lanes are still closed. Gateway Boulevard westbound at Westmoreland. An accident reported there. An injury accident with medical crew on the scene. Piedras at East Missouri Avenue. And on Pebble Hills Boulevard, just inside the loop, that pursuit of an armed carjacking subject is over. Officers have the subject in custody. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
After a warm and windy day, changes are headed our way for the end of the week as our next storm system approaches from the west. This evening, clouds will be on the increase with a few showers developing overnight with lows in the upper 30s. Coming up tonight, we'll talk about a big drop in those temperatures for tomorrow, plus some tracking mountain snow and the chance for a light rain-snow mix for the lowlands. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kira Miner.
This report is sponsored by Sylvania. On dark, foggy roads, do your fog lights lights provide the visibility you need. Upgrade to LEDs from Sylvania, the leader in automotive lighting. Experience how advanced optical design leads to superior down-road clarity. Visit the Sylvania website to find your LED bulbs today.
Anyone can get long COVID, even Rob, age 22.
I got COVID in September of 2020, and a few weeks later, I started to have long-term problems. I used to run 5 to 6 miles a day. Now, when I walk up a flight of stairs, I'm gasping for air. It feels like my brain is clouded and I can't think straight.
Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is the best way to prevent long COVID. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
When your children go to play at someone else's home or they attend a sleepover, ask the homeowner if there is a firearm present and how it is being stored. These are important questions that every parent should ask to help keep their children safe. For resources on how to talk to others about gun safety or information on safe gun storage options, go to safegunstoragetexas.com. Let's keep them safe, Texas. Brought to you by the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Hey guys, it's Edge Martinez. My family's gathering in the kitchen. It's our favorite place to catch up. Keep germs out. I use Lysol on countertops, tables, and the fridge handle. Nothing kills more viruses on more surfaces than Lysol disinfectant spray. Lysol, what it takes to protect. Use as directed.
No one should read your personal messages. That's why WhatsApp uses end-to-end encryption. It protects whatever you send before, during, and after you send it. So no one, not even WhatsApp, can read your messages. Always message privately. WhatsApp. This report is sponsored by WhatsApp.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. Either of those names, Talk El Paso, Andrew J. Polk, either of those, any of those places, you'll be able to find us and join in the conversation. A lot of comments coming in right now. We'll get to more of those here, but like Robert Haynes, Maria Coleman, John Brazelton, RJ, Michael Perez, and more. So we'll get to those here, probably opening up those phone lines before too long as well. But in the meantime, we are, of course, again, joined here in studio by Guadalupe Giner, independent candidate for the county judgeship for El Paso County. So thank you very much for sticking around with us here.
Hello, welcome back.
So we are usually been doing the interviews to kind of set things as a single segment here, but I wanted to extend this one slightly because there's more specificity required to talk about this particular, your attempt here at getting on the ballot, because it's not a set thing. Running as an independent in Texas is, as I've learned through talking with you and seeing about how this works, a complicated procedure. So it is not you file with a party and end up going through that and end up on the ballot. There are essentially, a petition that you have to get filled out to make that work here. And this is something that we waited until now to talk about specifically, because now was the time when that can happen. It could not have happened before the primary.
That's correct. We had to wait till after the primary. And if there had been a runoff, we would have to have waited till after the runoff. But because Judge Samaniego ran unopposed on the Democratic side and the Republicans did not have a candidate, we are able to start gathering signatures immediately after the primary.
So, and the way, again, that works in Texas, we've had some contact from independent campaigns before, but this is the one that has had the most seriousness of purpose behind it, because you did the initial filings, declaration of an intent to run end of last year, and now, of course, this coming into place, essentially what is required from the Texas Secretary of State, so people can find these restrictions and requirements themselves if they really want to, is you have to get 500 signatures, essentially overall, from everyone who did not vote in the primary for a candidate. So essentially what that means, given the way that we had, of course, there be no Republican candidate to then become the nominee now for the county judgeship, there has to be someone who either did not vote Democratic, did not vote overall is the simple way to put it, which is its own specialness here in El Paso, and I have words for them separately. But if they voted Republican, they are still able to sign this petition.
That's correct. And if the Republicans had a candidate for county judge, then they would not have been able to sign that petition. But because they didn't, now we can say, if you didn't vote in the primary, and I never encouraged anybody not to vote. I just said, if vote, and if you don't vote, consider signing my petition. So if you didn't vote in the primary, or you voted as a Republican in the primary, you're able to sign my petition. And you're correct. We need 500 signatures. And we're taking it very seriously, Andrew, because, you have to read an oath to them. They have to say, we did not vote in the primary. And if we did, we voted for a party that did not have a candidate for county judge. So we're not emailing the petitions out. We'd rather just give them to you, come get one, or come and sign it. And then we want to train you a little bit on what to do, because, this is the law, and we want to follow the rule of law. And we just want to make sure that those petitions are done correctly.
So we got it right here in front of it here. So this is the statement that you are agreeing to as you sign this position. I know the purpose of this position. I have not voted in the general primary election or runoff primary election of any political party that has nominated at either election a candidate for the office of El Paso County Judge, for which Guadalupe Giner is a candidate. So again, that's the technical terminology that is required here for people to understand, and then for this to be participated in. So again, Texas makes it a little bit interesting for non-major party candidates to get into it here. And so you're going to be kicking off this effort essentially almost immediately, right?
Yes, tomorrow. We have an event actually tomorrow. We're calling it a meet and greet, and come by and sign the petition. We're going to be at 100% Juice Bar and Grill, and it's at 1515 Lee Trevino. And it's on the corner of Lee Trevino and Vista del Sol. And we'll be there tomorrow between 11 and 1 for lunch, and then again 4 and 6. And I'd just like to invite your listeners to come out, and people that are watching to come out and get to know me. And if you consider signing my petition, because we believe this is not going to be that difficult to do. But if you want to change El Paso County, you got to come out, and you got to get out of your chairs and out of your comfortable homes. And you need to come out and sign the petition, because we have an opportunity here to change things in El Paso County. And so we're hoping that people will come out. There'll be other times for you to also do that. If you want to circulate a petition for us, you can also come to that event, and we'll train you on how to do that. But we're really trying to be careful and do things the right way.
I mean, absolutely, because it is something that has to be done. I mean, I feel like there hasn't been a petition that has come up in the local area that has not had some concern, issue, technicality going along with it. So being careful with them makes a lot of sense.
That's correct. And, I just believe that El Paso County is ready for a change. And it's going to take some mobility from people that maybe won't want to do this. And, I believe that we're ready. I think El Paso County has a lot of opportunity. This is a great place to live. We have wonderful school districts. A lot of people, like in Austin, they don't have the best school districts. We have awesome school districts here. We have wonderful family environment, beautiful mountains, and wonderful people. And so I just want the opportunity to show you that I can do something different that's never been done before, but it's going to require some action from El Paso County residents.
And definitely will be. And so this is a petition going to be going out again, starting our efforts there tomorrow. And there's a couple of months here. I don't necessarily want to give the deadline, because I think that people will then say, well, I'll wait to that point, because that's how things work in El Paso. But there is a deadline associated with this. So this is not an open-ended thing. I mean, at the very least, there's the election coming up in November. So there is a time frame in which this has to occur, of course. So again, what is that location you're going to be out at?
Okay, we're going to be at 100% Juice Bar and Grill, 1212 Lee Trevino, corner of Lee Trevino and Vista del Sol, right next to the Mr. Car Wash, for those of you that are from the east side. And we'll be there from 11 to 1, and then again from 4 to 6. We're trying to capture those that are at lunch, and then those that can't make it during lunch come by after work from 4 to 6.
Okay, so we'll put up the link to your website here, and people can find all of that here. So thank you very much for taking the time to come with us, talk about your campaign and the complexities involved with the actualization of it here today.
Okay, well, thank you for having me, and I hope to see you again, Andrew. Feel free to invite me anytime.
Absolutely. As we get further into these elections, I'm sure we'll be talking even more here. So thank you very much here. We are due for that next break already. And at this point, we'll also go ahead and open up that phone line here. So if people are wanting to call in, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
News Radio 690.
That crash at Loop 375 Trans Mountain at Wrestler earlier is cleared. Both directions, east and westbound. All lanes are back open. Gateway Boulevard, westbound at Westmoreland, an accident reported there. Police and medical crew on the scene of an accident in Piedras at East Missouri Avenue, and a crash downtown at Rio Grande and Noble. You could take Brown Avenue or Montana as alternates. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the maker of NexGuard Afoxolaner.
NexGuard Afoxolaner is monthly flea and tick protection that's #1 vet recommended and #1 dog preferred. Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Ask your vet or visit nextguardfordogs.com to learn more.
Beautiful, top quality, long-lasting dental implants as low as $19.95 at 1995implants.com. The El Paso Dental Office, where implants are affordable. Other places charge $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, up to $6,000 per tooth. Please do not pay that much. Please do come to 1995implants.com, where our price is much lower, as low as $1,995 per tooth, including the implant, abutment, and crown, which many other places charge extra for. Plus, at 1995implants.com, we also offer a free consultation, free standard x-rays, and very convenient payment options. Now's the time to get rid of your cracked teeth, missing teeth, or loose, old, wobbly dentures and get the beautiful new smile that you want at a very affordable price. 1995implants.com. For more information, see our website, 1995implants.com. That's 1995implants.com. Se habla español.
What's done more to improve overall health and wellness? Modern medicine or personal hygiene? Actually, it's both. But considering that bathing went mainstream in the 1800s and brushing your teeth in the 1900s, isn't it time for something new, like cleaning your nose? After all, your nose is the body's air filter for trapping dirt and germs, the first line of defense against allergens, bacteria, and viruses from getting into your lungs. But how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage isn't medicine, it's more like plumbing. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril to the very back of the nose where germs can get trapped and multiply, and then out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and microbes so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. Join over 2 million others and find out for yourself how refreshing and easy to use Navage is. At Navage.com, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
Your happiest spring starts at Lowe's. Right now, Scott's Triple Action Lawn Fertilizer, everyday low price, starts at $29.98. Lowe's, home to any possibility. Selection varies by location while supplies last. Valid 3/10 through 3/16. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
News Radio 690, KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. Your host, Andrew J. Polk, here. Thanks again to our guest from previous segment, Guadalupe Giner, independent candidate for, well, the El Paso County Judgeship. So, talking more about that here. Again, if you want to find out anything about her platform, all of that, Guadalupe for ElPaso.com. We'll get that up in the chat here shortly to see it for yourself here, to see the platform and positions here. Probably more conversation needing to come up on all of this because as situations continue to change, again, it just kind of baffled me that given all the consternation, even just people calling into this show had with specifically county leadership, I mean, the dissatisfaction kind of already exhibited for, well, city leadership with that landslide election that we saw with the previous administration getting out to the curb. Yeah, that happened, but it hadn't happened a chance to happen yet when it came to the county judgeship. So the fact that it came down to no one running officially, party-wise, against the county judge just baffled me. So if you wanted to call in, we do have that phone line open right now. That number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. If I figured you off the line there, my apologies here. But a lot of comments coming in. Question from Michael Perez asking, will Guadalupe be on the west side? When will she? Did ask her about that on the way out the door here, and she will be looking at that in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned. As events come up, we'll be happy to mention them here. We have a comment saying, don't think the west side is her priority. Not exactly so here, I don't think, in that case here. But a lot of other interesting commentary. Frank Jr. saying, got my full support. Maria McKinney saying, let's support our independent candidates. Sign for Guadalupe Giner. Maria Coleman with a longer comment about disagreeing about property taxes based on waste and exorbitant salaries, an excess in schools and their maintenance, and no accountability here. So, I mean, there's more to be talked about here. Robert Haynes saying, thanks for covering independent candidates. Give up the election coverage. We'll definitely keep doing that because I think it's important to do so. RJ, a little bit earlier, saying, shocking El Pasoans hate to pay taxes. You find me someone who likes paying taxes, and I'll find you someone who probably doesn't feel the sting of them all that much here. RJ with another comment there. Man, El Paso is blue, never ceases to amaze. See, that's the conventional wisdom that I find baffling, frankly, because El Paso, by any objective standard, is not blue, it's not red, it's not pink, brown, green, yellow, anything. It's non-voting. We have just so many uninvolved people here that it just baffles me. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to do this kind of a show, is to talk about it, get people involved, get people realizing it was after the 2017 mayoral election race here that I had some friends of mine that knew I did politics and did things that had no idea even just within that race, the characters that exist within it, and said to me, like, man, I thought local politics was boring. I had no idea that there was so much going on with it. And sure, I don't necessarily want this to be a kind of entertainment. Infotainment is a phrase that leaves me feeling a little squidgy, but talking about it and getting down to the brass tacks of it, that I don't think El Paso, besides historically kind of inertia, based on inertia solely, might be considered blue. In any other state, it would be the purple corner of the state. But in Texas, it passes for what might be considered blue, but only because of those that actually do show up and show out. So I think that there's more to be done with that. I mean, we've heard that a bit out of the governor's mouth when he was visiting here, and others, and even that focus on the Rio Grande Valley, I think will have an interesting impact going forth here, but we'll get more to that. Let's squeeze in a call or two here before we end up here in that next break here. We do have Barbara on the west side here with us right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew, for taking my call. I wanted to make a couple comments today. I know I'm what did it say? A day late and a dollar short to the party. Last week, somebody called in and asked who Raul would vote for in the Democratic Party if they had a good candidate. I don't know if anybody's called in, but I thought about two of them. Number one, I thought about Manchin. You know, he believes that we need to be energy independent, and he voted against the Build Better Back program, and he voted against doing away with the filibuster. He understands inflation, and he also understands the dangers of continuously raising our debt. So I thought he's a pretty centered Democrat. And then I also thought about Tulsi Gabbard, because she's a veteran. So she has a really good perspective on what's going on in Ukraine and Russia right now. But I wanted to talk also about Kamala. I mean, I think we all remember the video they made with the child actors for a NASA video, the disaster that turned out to be. And then her explanation on the radio about Ukraine and Russia, the big country, the small country, and that's just wrong, the disaster that turned out to be. And I don't know if it was Lester Holt or Stephanopoulos that interviewed her regarding the border, why she hadn't been to the border, and she didn't, she wouldn't come right out and say she hadn't. And finally she says, and she cackled, well, I haven't been to Europe either. So...
Yeah, very dissatisfied with that answer. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. And then they asked her if the United States was going to help with the refugee crisis. And she cackled in Poland, imagine, on TV. And I thought to myself, at minimum, she should have known about the $13.6 billion that last night's omnibus bill appropriated for Ukraine and Europe, for the crisis that they're going through now. I mean, that's a minimum she should have known. Her counterpartner also had to remind her that this was a serious matter. I mean, how embarrassing was that? And then when she was asked if Russia had committed war crimes, she says, oh, well, we're going to investigate that. It's too early to make a decision or jump to conclusion. But here we saw a maternity hospital bombed, pregnant women being carried out of the hospital, children died, mothers died, but they're going to do an investigation. Contrast that to her response to the Border Patrol when they accused the Border Patrol on horses that they were whipping the Haitian illegal immigrants in the valley. she came out and said, well, this is just wrong and inhumane, and we're going to start an investigation. And they did start an investigation. And I think up to today, we haven't heard any results of that investigation.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then again, in the omnibus bill, the Republicans were able to keep the $2 billion that Trump was able to get regarding the border wall, but there aren't any specifics on what they're going to do with that money. But get a load of this. In the omnibus bill, there's specific language where they're going to dismantle enforcement of a program. It's 287G program, which allows the states to help the U.S. government go out there and get illegal immigrants for deportation. They're going to do away with that portion of the immigration bill. We shouldn't be surprised, though. But, Democrats would rather secure borders of foreign countries and give them money because they set aside, appropriated billions of dollars also for Libya and Tunisia and Oman and Lebanon and Egypt and other countries that are our adversaries. So that is just, that's outrageous. O'Rourke should love the fact that they're doing away with trying to dismantle that 287G program. He wants to take down the wall. So, that's right up to where let everybody in, arms open, and help destroy our country. This administration hits us from all sides, absolutely no consideration for the citizens of the United States of America, but let's appropriate money for Ukraine and Europe. And I think Ukraine needs help. I'm not knocking that down. But in the appropriations bill, dismantle another tool that the state of Texas, should I say. And I was just thinking that's aimed at Texas because of what Governor Abbott is doing. He's trying to do the best he can to protect the citizens and our border. And this program right here will take away their ability to help go out there and capture these or seize these illegal immigrants and turn them over to Department of Homeland Security. Mayorkas doesn't want any of this, and neither does Biden. What a shame.
Yeah.
Anybody who votes for this administration is just not paying attention.
Well, I sure as hell hope they are, because a lot of people I knew that ended up voting for it, saying, oh, well, it's not the perfect choice, but we'll hold them accountable. And I would love to see how they're doing that exactly. Yeah, that 287G sounds, looked it up here real quick, definitely related to the Operation Stone Garden and what comes along with that. A bit more on the ICE side of it here, but I think that would have some further implications that we'll have to get into here, because Lorenzo Colon actually putting it decently well. It's amazing the amount of people here in the borderland that don't care about politics, especially local politics. And if there's one thing I hope we change with this discussion of the important things, agree or disagree with any particular point being brought up by myself, other callers here, it's important to debate it, because if you're just saying, well, that's bad and I don't care about it further, that's the death of it, of all of this, if we don't even can't even give a hoot anymore. There's another word I want to use, but I can't right now.
Well,
so
if you recall when you interviewed Escobar, she said we needed more border patrol so they could do their job. And this actually neuters our border patrol and ICE, like you mentioned. So we just have a bunch of hypocrites representing us in Washington, and our representative is right there with them, hand in glove, not doing anything good for the citizens of El Paso, our safety, or our children's safety. It's just a grand shame and a hypocrisy that we have a representative who signed on this bill. The bill was 2,667 pages. I received it. And it's amazing. They printed out last night and they voted on it last night. And I know that it hasn't been read. And the only reason I got it is because I was searching for a specific EB5 program, which was recertified. But anyway.
I mean, there's a lot of specifics we got to get into here. Yeah, my understanding is that was after midnight, literally this morning, D.C. time when it came in here. But tell you what, we got to take that next break right now. So coming out of the break, we'll get into more of this. Actually have the release from Congresswoman Escobar's office here about the support of this bill. So we'll delve into that a little bit and more coming out of this break. But stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
News Radio 690.
Slow traffic on the I-10 eastbound headed out to Sparks from East Lake to Horizon right now. Loop 375 southbound at Montwood. Disabled vehicles blocking the right shoulder. Trans Mountain eastbound at 54 Gateway. Another stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Paseo del Norte eastbound at Trans Mountain. Watch for a vehicle off to the right. An accident dire at Hayes is slowing traffic. Take Fred Wilson or Copia as alternates. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Inventing Anna, the official podcast, delves deeper into the story behind the Netflix series about Anna Sorokin, the fake heiress who stole the hearts and money of New York social elite, featuring conversations with the actual people who played a part in this iconic story, and series creator Shonda Rhimes.
My theory of Anna, which is, it is that thing that Vivian says, I will make you famous. The world will know who you are.
Listen to Inventing Anna, the official podcast on the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Near historical low mortgage rates won't last long. If you're buying a new home, go with a lender you can count on for competitive rates, low fees, over 300 loan products, and thousands of loan consultants to help make sure you get the home you want. Call now for your no-obligation pre-approval. 866-888-LOAN. 866-888-LOAN. Or go to loandepot.com. Loan Depot, where home means everything. Rates are subject to change. Equal housing opportunity lender. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50
News
states.
on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. More than 36 kids are among the civilians who have died so far in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The UN released those numbers while saying the total number of civilian deaths is around 550. Around 960 more have been injured. As has been repeated before, the UN noted the numbers are likely considerably higher. The White House is sidestepping questions about how the U.S. and its allies would react if Russia uses chemical or biological weapons in Ukraine.
We have been very clear, and our actions have been the evidence of this, that there will be significant consequences for every escalatory step.
Press Secretary Jen Psaki would not elaborate and said she will not be drawing red lines about hypothetical attacks. Baseball will play a full season. Major League Baseball owners and players reached an agreement on a new collective bargaining agreement. Once ratified, the season will start April 7th. Increased minimum salaries are expected to be part of the new CBA that will be in place for 5 years. The Internal Revenue Service is hiring 10,000 new employees in an attempt to handle a backlog of tax returns. They'll add 5,000 in the next couple of months, with another 5,000 by the end of next year. The agency has over 23 million unprocessed forms and requests that need to be attended to. The CDC says this season's flu vaccine was a poor match against the virus. Lisa Taylor reports.
The flu shot reduced a person's chance of getting a mild case by 16% against the most common flu strain. That's considered not statistically significant. A doctor from Vanderbilt University Medical Center said the flu vaccine was essentially ineffective. The findings come during the country's second flu season in a row with low flu activity. I'm Lisa Taylor.
At the closing bell, the Dow lost 112 points to 33,174. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. Weekly unemployment claims are up slightly. The Labor Department says they rose to 227,000 last week. That's a jump of 11,000 from the previous week's revised total. The biggest jumps for the week ending February 26th happened in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Washington, D.C. Michigan, California, and Florida had the biggest drops. Part of the language in the cryptocurrency executive order focuses on giving the U.S. a competitive edge globally.
When it comes to crypto development, the U.S. is looking for an edge now that China has effectively banned cryptocurrencies in their country. Biden has tasked the Department of Commerce with establishing a framework to drive U.S. competitiveness and leadership in and leveraging of digital asset technologies. Also noteworthy, the Biden administration wants to explore a digital version of the dollar. China has led the charge towards central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, with more and more people using smartphones to make payments and handle their finances. So while Biden is not saying that the U.S. should launch its own digital currency, he is calling on the government to place urgency on research and development of a potential CBDC. I'm Mike Bauer.
The Tony Awards are returning to Radio City Music Hall. Lisa G. reports.
The event, set for June 12th, marks for the first time since 2019 the ceremony is being held at the iconic location. The award show was postponed in March 2020 due to the pandemic, and then later rescheduled to September 2021 at the Winter Garden Theater. The 75th Tony Awards will be broadcast live on CBS from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern.
A new study says nostalgia may help cure your headaches. Researchers from the Chinese Academy of Sciences in Beijing found that looking at old pictures and videos helped reduce headache pains. Scientists used a heat generator to expose study participants to various levels of pain. They found that pain levels decreased when people were shown childhood images. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by Dell Technologies. Dell's semi-annual sale for business has arrived. Enjoy specials on Dell Talks, monitors, and servers, plus up to 45% off the latest Dell PCs with Windows 11 Pro, and get an easy start to your workday. Call 877-ASK-DELL to speak with a Dell Technologies advisor. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Anyone can get long COVID, even Caitlin, age 20.
I got COVID in November 2020. In January, I started having long-term problems. I was a varsity soccer player in high school, and now I get winded just from walking. I can't remember things. It's just unbearable.
Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is the best way to prevent long COVID. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Recording artist Kevin Fowler.
I love the sound of fast boats racing, rooster tails are flying high. Love to hear all my riding friends rocking, howling at the full moonlight. Love to see those fireflies buzzing, lighting up the southern sky. Yeah, I'm a hell-bent 100% Texan till I die. Like lots of 100% Texans, I love having a good time on the water. But remember, nobody's waterproof. Play it safe. Wear a life jacket and designate a driver for the boat and for a safe ride home. Follow these tips and there'll be a lot more days for you to play in this great state of Texas. Nobody's waterproof, yeah, that's a helmet truth, and you know it ain't no lie.
Sponsored by Texas Parks and Wildlife.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. The best ones you can comment on, Facebook page is the primary one. That's where the Skeptic Squad lives, and the Thunderdome of Comments opens up just about every show, so we already got, going pretty well at pace here already. You can see it for yourself here if you really want to get into it here, including some of the interesting comments coming back to about some of those potential Democrat nominees being brought up here. Michael Patter saying Tulsi Gabbard is a WE graduate and very anti-2A. Raul Amaya saying Manchin is a dino and Gabby got goofy. I mean, there's a lot of interesting situations here. One of the questions that came up was about the omnibus funding bill, of course, that has just come out, fresh, hot off the presses here. And do have the statement out from Congresswoman Veronica Escobar about that. Votes to pass bipartisan omnibus appropriations bill secures over $11.5 million in Texas 16 community funding projects. The headline of the press release out of her office is here. So more to delve into here, and we certainly could. But those specific programs being mentioned here in El Paso, $900,000 increase for the Mexico Border Health Commission, encourages commission to engage with their Mexican counterparts for binational COVID-19 vaccine development strategy. $10 million for the Space Force University Partnership Program at UTEP, $2 million for additive manufacturing efforts at UTEP, and $1.5 million for the Central America Regional Program to addressing root causes of migration and combating crime and such. again, according to the office of Congresswoman Veronica Escobar here. But as I have mentioned, we do have those phone lines open, because that's that point in the show in which we do that. The number to call there, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Squeeze into another couple of comments here before we end up out there. Maria Kalman saying that in the 2020 election, many appear to vote based on emotions. Harris has continued to be an embarrassment on the national stage. Biden often unable to complete a coherent sentence. The result is incompetence and chaos. Wouldn't go quite that far, as I often do here. I mean, I do understand that Biden has had a stutter for most of his life. So, I mean, if we're talking about presentation styles, there's plenty to be said about most recent administrations. So why I tend to look past that and into what are they talking about when it does come out anyway. And yeah, there were some fine points that we went over during the State of the Union, the most recent policy thing I can kind of point to that are, well, kind of, I guess, not really in this omnibus bill. Frankly, I was surprised that the omnibus bill came together at all and that we weren't straight up into a shutdown, but, well, what else would be new there? Anyway, getting back to those lines here, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Okay, one last comment I'll get to here. Al George asking, can someone explain to me how the Democrats can claim that they are, quote, creating jobs? Are these the same ones that they destroyed with their COVID policies? Yeah, that's kind of why the whole, biggest job creation in history being touted by this administration kind of falls a little bit flat for me. Also, if we end up, okay, not to be too doom and gloom about this, but the analysis coming out that most of the recent recessions that we've seen have been predicated by a massive increase in energy supplies, gas specifically. So that's going to look more silly than it already was if we end up in a recession, even as soon as later this year, knock on wood not, but hey, situations keep changing daily. But let's get to those phone lines here again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Do have Raul in the Northeast on the line with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. You know, World War III would definitely affect El Paso. The former president recently shared how he may have handled the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine. The country that he got impeached for blackmailing them to start an investigation of Joe Biden or risk having $400 million in congressionally approved military aid to Ukraine held up. Money held up to help the nation deter a Russian invasion, which eventually happened, until Ukraine announced publicly that there would be an investigation into the Biden family. Now, according to an audio obtained by the Washington Post, Trump told a group of Republican donors in New Orleans that the United States should paint Chinese flags on its F-22 jets and then use those jets to bomb Russia. How genius. And then he says, we say that China did it. We didn't do it. China did it. And that they start fighting with each other and we sit back and watch.
I mean, it's a nice scenario if it could work out that way. The idea of China and Russia, instead of getting buddy-buddy, ending up beating the tar, is the word I should say, out of each other. It's a nice idea, but clearly, tactically, well, not exactly feasible in that case, considering amongst other things, China doesn't have F-22s. Should not have F-22s anyway, but I mean, I appreciate the potential wargaming here, but in the meantime, the one actually in control, of course, of the response that we are seeing both to, well, supplies being sent over there, and then very much driving interactions with NATO, amongst other things, would be the current administration. So I got to say, I'm a tick more concerned about what the current administration is going to do to get us potentially into World War III than the previous one. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, it shows his naivete is massive. Does Trump really think that the Russians would be so easily fooled? That painting a Chinese flag on our airplanes is a significant enough ruse to fool the Russians? That is totally insane. It's as insane as saying that he fell in love with the communist dictator of North Korea after threatening to go to war just before that. My stepson was in North Korea with his wife and two little kids when that was going on, and my poor wife was saying, honey, is Johnny and Maria and the boys going to get killed from a war with North Korea? I said, no, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that Trump is going to figure out that was part of the Trump turd theater, and that he's going to figure out what everybody else has already figured out, that it's a stalemate.
I mean, yeah, that has, and I'm assuming you meant South Korea there, and not that you were taking a nice vacation, family vacation, members of your family there to North Korea here. But I mean, I guess I say it on the same kind of level as the recent statements out of, well, essentially Kamala Harris of a real kind of basic boo-boo interpretation of how international relations are working here, and didn't take it any seriously besides the curio of a former president saying something that it is here. So I guess I haven't put that much thought process into it here because, again, far more concerned with how the current administration is prosecuting this not quite war. I mean, it definitely doesn't seem like a no-fly zone is going to be anywhere near the table at any near point here, but that's only because the few clear things that have come out of Putin so far at this point have essentially been that if anyone else steps a foot into this, we will consider them active participants. But they've also, of course, set up rationale coming out of the Putin administration being around the idea that even maybe supplying it could be considered it, which has led to, among other things, that whole kerfuffle involving the current administration. Again, the policies I'm most concerned about with the Polish former Soviet bloc jets potentially being transferred and then not, and back and forth, that whole kerfuffle involving Poland and the Ukrainian Air Force here. So, sure, again, as I have often said, as much as I love a good tour of the policies and foibles of a former president, the ones that I'm concerned about are the ones making the decisions right now, and if we come to it, that's the ones I'm worried about starting World War III. So, appreciate the point in the call, but I think we're going to move on from that point here. Anyway, we have more calls on the line that we'll get to here after this next break. Got to take it right now. If you wanted to dial in, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break. More Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Slow traffic on the I-10 eastbound headed out to Sparks from Eastlake to Horizon right now. Loop 375 southbound at Montwood. Disabled vehicles blocking the right shoulder. Trans Mountain eastbound at 54 Gateway. Another stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Paseo del Norte eastbound at Trans Mountain. Watch for a vehicle off to the right. Accident Dyer at Hayes is slowing traffic. Take Fred Wilson or Copia as alternates. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Hiring heating up? Indeed's hiring platform makes it easy to attract, screen, and interview candidates all in one place. Sponsor a post and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates on Indeed, whose resumes match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
What's done more to improve overall health and wellness? Modern medicine or personal hygiene? Actually, it's both. But considering that bathing went mainstream in the 1800s and brushing your teeth in the 1900s, isn't it time for something new, like cleaning your nose? After all, your nose is the body's air filter for trapping dirt and germs, the first line of defense against allergens, bacteria, and viruses from getting into your lungs. But how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage isn't medicine, it's more like plumbing. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril to the very back of the nose where germs can get trapped and multiply. And then out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and microbes so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. Join over 2 million others and find out for yourself how refreshing and easy to use Navage is. At Navage.com, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
Research shows people remember radio ads that remind them of the past. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need, here's an ad that'll really take you back.
Back in my day, I heard a voice from the radio say, Liberty Mutual customizes my home insurance so I only pay for what I need. I'm getting on in years now, but heavens to Betsy, there are some things an old fella like me just never forgets.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Folks, call me a people pleaser, but I can't help that the KFC 8-piece tenders meal gives the people what they want. It's got all the KFC classics, 4 buttery biscuits, 2 heaping sides, mac and cheese and crispy fries perhaps, and 8 scrumptious KFC tenders. Enough to please everybody, people. Feed the whole family with the KFC 8-piece tenders meal. Order ahead on the KFC app. It's finger-licking good. Prices and participation may vary. Online ordering available at participating locations.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day.
I don't watch television, so I get all my news from you.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show, particularly at this point in the program. When we do have those phone lines open, the number to call there, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. You got to put the 915 on there, so 915-544-KTSM. A lot of comments coming in as well as we are on all those social pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Al George asking, could the Israelis do something under the table to stop this madness? Two ways I can think of to take that. One is, backdoor negotiations, that kind of a thing. Maybe. I mean, I think essentially they are, even if there's looking at other situations with refugees and such. If you're talking about more, shall we say, black ops, I can't think of a world leader that I have knowledge of anyway that has a better probably position to just not have that be a possibility. Like, it's going to take a full-on Russian revolution to unseat that dude if he doesn't want to be. Because as much as this may be it's a horror. There's nothing good happening in Ukraine right now except for the fact that some just massive incompetence happening on the planning stage of it from the open source intelligence I'm able to look at coming out of it is on hold here, / maybe the death of the tank as a 21st century weapons platform, but that's a little bit separate. The ineptitude being in the planning with it is really coming to question. But I mean, again, just look at the way the guy sets up his own news conferences and the way that he deals with even his inner circle, literally beyond arm's length. Like, you're not, so if that's what you're asking about here, I don't think so. A lot of comments here. Barbara Carrasco on the funding amount saying it's easier to bring in money to our community, but hard to make those difficult decisions regarding our sovereignty. Money isn't always the answer here. So, I mean, a lot more analysis needing to come out about that. Probably spend a good chunk of that on here tomorrow when we can actually delve into it a bit more. With that omnibus spending avoiding until September anyway, that next bit of government shutdown. But we'll see. Anyway, more calls on the line here. Again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We have Harry on with the line with us right now. Harry, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Andrew, thanks for putting me on. I don't want to get personal in any way, shape, or form, but I'm telling you, Raul was great today. He had some good comments, and I was just glad to listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we got to quit picking on Beto. We do. Let me get my 2 cents in. At least Beto is a stand-up guy. He's out there campaigning for things he believes in. He did great going across the state of Texas. He probably wasn't too far off of getting elected as governor. But, you got to respect a guy that's willing to stand up and go out. And if you got someone better, then let him get up and get out there. And my opinion, when Beto made that comment regarding, I'm going to get your AR-15s or 16s, that was a gutsy call. And you know what? Someday that's probably going to happen when we get through shooting each other in the streets and all the wild, crazy things going on. It someday may come to that, as ridiculous as it may sound. But anyway, the last two ladies that you've had on, the one was the on yesterday or past yesterday, and then the one today. Both great. Their presentations were outstanding. And when you've been around as long as I have, you can tell people that are enthusiastic and sincere about their comments and the things that they're saying. And I think both of them should be voted in, would be my opinion. I was impressed with their comments. And the fact, too, Andrew, that they had both been business people. They haven't been politicians all their life.
Interesting point. Yeah, there, I guess. I mean, that's, I guess, an increasing focus ever since, well, before 2016, but really ramped up 2016, the outsider, non-politician kind of thing here. And even in this case with Guadalupe Giner, again, the candidate we have on today, running as literally an independent for the county judgeship. There have not been, I'll just say this flat out, there have not been a lot of independent campaigns that I've been in contact with that have had a seriousness of purpose here. Now, I've got no, a serious, we don't do endorsements on this program. We will talk with the candidates and let y'all make your decisions here. But I've been contacted by some in the past that have been less organized, is the way I'm going to choose to put that right now.
Okay. Another thing, at every level of government, Andrew, from the federal on down to the local politics, the politicians will make good presentations, and a lot of them are sincere, as I said.
Sure.
But once they get into office, everything becomes about money, Andrew. 95% of everything that goes on in government is about money. And if it's not about money, it's about money. And if you get in there and you're not able to reduce taxes, as they say, able to reduce your utility bills, and the politicians, they all vote on these things. They don't have complete control over all these things. So a lot of the things that are said just don't happen. And that's why people get distances from politicians or the elections. And, it doesn't take very, very few qualifications to become a politician. There's no other than petitions and maybe notoriety. There's no look at the federal government. What qualifications do we have in the people in office up there? Thank you for the opportunity, Andrew.
No, I mean, interesting points you bring up there. Some interesting comments coming back as well over on the social media about some of the Beto comments here. But to your last point there, I think you're right. I think locally you can get more non-money based, your policies, your ordinances. The noise ordinance is going around right now. News partners over at KFOX 14 delving into how that is working, even if that ends up becoming money based with fines. But yeah, the more you get federal, the higher office that you get, it definitely comes down to, okay, for the plan that you have, what's it going to cost to do it? So I don't have a particular gripe with the Congressional Budget Office, but it does seem like in most circumstances about actual legislation being put into place, that's essentially outsized influence, because it's not okay, what is this going to mean? How is it going to work out for us? It's all, what's it going to cost? So it's kind of like you go to a barber, you're going to get your hair cut regardless of what kind of styling you wanted. You go to a politician, they're going to ask you, okay, how are you going to appropriate for it? It seems to be, I don't have a great solution for that, so I'm not one to gripe about it, but it is a tragedy of the commons of current government, I guess you could put it that way, because it definitely seems to be an issue. So thank you for the point in the call there. Squeeze in another one here before we hit this next break. Do we have Ben on the east side here with us right now? Ben, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew. Yesterday I called about a high wire interview with Tess Laurie and the death of ivermectin and the reasons why we are not able to get ivermectin. At that time, you cut me off, and you had to go to a break. And when you came back on, though, you referenced my call as being something between ideology and reality. I'd like to know where does ideology and reality come in with what I talked about?
Well, the idea of, everything. Okay, you want to talk about ivermectin here for a bit. We'll talk about that for a minute. I am not
talking about why you said it was ideology versus reality. What in my statement before had anything to do with either ideology or reality?
So to make sure I'm understanding your question here, right? You're contending that there's neither reality nor ideology in place when we're talking about this issue?
No, there's reality.
Okay, I should hope so.
Why do you bring ideology up?
Well, because that was then the point we were going on to here. And to make it clear, we were
I wasn't going to go on to ideology. I wasn't talking about ideology. I'm not I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm for what is best for the United States. Okay. Now, I was talking about ivermectin and the many deaths that occurred because of what happened as a reality in this interview that showed what the reason why we were not able to get ivermectin in the United States and most of the world, and the resulting deaths that it caused, which means what would you call an estimated 50 million extra deaths because ivermectin was not allowed? What would you call that?
I call it a very serious situation, but I think you're taking very personally something that we were talking about more generally. We did have that point that was then brought up by Frankie yesterday, if you will recall. And yes, we ended up being on the ivermectin topic for a while yesterday. But if you're wanting to be specific about how we run this show and how we do calls, is that no, this is not the ivermectin show. This isn't even the pandemic show. You know, we've delved quite a lot into that. This is about talking about El Paso. So as much as there are certain subjects of interest that we will indulge in, sometimes we got to move on from a thing or two. So if you're taking it personally that we were ending up moving on because we did have to take the break and ended up having a very short segment in that last one here, well, that's your prerogative and you're more than welcome to your sentiment on that, but I'm not going to apologize for it because we do the things that we do. I'm not an expert on these things, but I do look at the circumstances, what we see, and if you want to talk about ideology versus reality, the idea of how these things are implemented, we've seen a lot of ideology put into place versus what I think needs to be looked at of reality. And the reality for me, what I'm seeing, the research that I'm able to then pull up and find out that it's coming out, haven't found the local one just yet on the ivermectin study, is that it may have some effectiveness, but not exactly buying it when it's talked about as a miracle drug. Now, whether or not it should have been kiboshed the way that it was is a reasonable one that should be looked into by probably better qualified authorities than me. But if you're asking me why we do the things the way we do in this show, which is seeming like what you're really getting to, is because we are here to have discussion about the things that affect us here. And if you're going to be upset that we're not devoting an entire time to it, you're welcome to write us an email, but we are going to move on from calls from time to time to get in and allow for more discussion on there. And you're welcome to have that discussion with me after the program, and as I've offered to you, if you're going to want to keep bringing this up here. Moving on now to that next break, the number to call if you're wanting to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690, KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
News update. U.S. immigration authorities are turning to smartphones to keep tabs on immigrants and ensure they attend their deportation hearings. Increasingly, immigrants who are released from detention or stopped on the border are being required to snap a selfie or call to check in with federal agents using an app on their phones. Advocates say it makes immigrants feel trapped, even though some already paid money to get out of detention. They also worry about how U.S. officials might use data pulled from the app known as SmartLink. Immigration and Customs Enforcement declined to answer questions about the app. And more than 27,000 mail ballots in Texas were flagged for rejection in the first test of new voting restrictions enacted across the United States. It puts the rate of rejected mail ballots in Texas on track to significantly surpass previous elections. That's according to county-by-county reports obtained by the AP following last week's first in the nation primary in Texas. I'm Erica Castillo with the State Fox 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
If you're on the I-10 eastbound approaching Piedra Street, watch out for a disabled big rig tractor trailer blocking the right lane, so stay left there. Gateway Boulevard at Ellerthorpe Ave, stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Watch for an accident at Dyer at Hayes slowing traffic. Fred Wilson or Copia Street can be alternates. McRae Boulevard northbound at Cosmos, police on the scene of an accident. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
After a warm and windy day, changes are headed our way for the end of the week as our next storm system approaches from the west. This evening, clouds will be on the increase with a few showers developing overnight with lows in the upper 30s. Coming up tonight, we'll talk about a big drop in those temperatures for tomorrow, plus some tracking mountain snow and the chance for a light rain-snow mix for the lowlands. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kira Miner.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Hiring heating up? Indeed's hiring hiring platform makes it easy to attract, screen, and interview candidates all in one place. Sponsor a post and instantly receive a shortlist of quality candidates on Indeed, whose resumes match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
When your children go to play at someone else's home or they attend a sleepover, ask the homeowner if there is a firearm present and how it is being stored. These are important questions that every parent should ask to help keep their children safe. For resources on how to talk to others about gun safety or information on safe gun storage options, go to safegunstoragetexas.com. Let's keep them safe, Texas. Brought to you by the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Hey, Mario Courtney Lopez here. We know life's moments are definitely better together.
And Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to always be ready to make the most of these moments.
Whether in studio, on the red carpet, or around the house, having the confidence to get close is amazing.
Our lives are better together with Smart Mouth. Just 2 rinses a day means fresh breath for 24 hours.
Find it at your favorite drug, grocery, or supercenter store, or save 20% at smartmouth.com/.
I love when my friends stop by, but to help keep my friends and my family safe, I always spray Lysol in my home before guests arrive and again after they leave. Nothing kills more viruses on more surfaces than Lysol disinfectant spray. Lysol, what it takes to protect. Use as directed.
No one should read your personal messages. That's why WhatsApp uses end-to-end encryption. It protects whatever you send before, during, and after you send it. So no one, not even WhatsApp, can read your messages. Always message privately. WhatsApp. This report is sponsored by WhatsApp.
Text and whatever. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
KTSM AM El Paso is News Radio 690, an iHeart radio station. News Radio 690, KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so. On air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages. We're up on Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. There's a lot of, I guess, unwritten rules because they usually don't have to be spelled out here, but the way we deal with things is the entire thesis statement is, let's talk about the things that affect us here in the borderland. Now, of course, a lot of things can be writ large with that, about national impacts, this, omnibus spending bill, the whole supply situation we've been dealing with. A lot of them, coming straight through our backyard, border security, everything involved with that, absolutely. But we do take calls, as we do have the phone line open right now, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And we have been known to get into a subject or two, try to be responsive here, but if there's any expectations that I'm going to give undue influence or something to an issue here because it's simply important to you, we pick our topics here and we try to be responsive, but don't do exactly well saying, no, you have to talk about this, or more bristle than not, you're not allowed to talk about that, just to make that perfectly clear. And the way you're going to have the best time, frankly, calling in here, is if you're conversational with me, because that's what I'm most interested in doing. Having that conversation, discussing the things that are important to us. So just, forewarned, forearmed. That's how we do it here. Louis Panato with just a great comment here saying, my research, I took the jabs and wear a mask only for woke theater. Listen, dude, if you don't have good stuff in your life, I can't help you, but I'm not wearing a Spider-Man mask. And I also looked at the reasonable impact from the injection for what it would mean for me. Now, we can agree that there might be certain policies out there that are more onerous and onerous than need be when it comes to making people do things. But if your stance is that, you should be able to do whatever you want, well, not like that. No, you're not allowed to do it like that. No, I don't like the way you're doing that, so no, you're not allowed to do it. But anything else you want to do, it's fine. You're kind of also missing the point there. And also, I'm not a researcher. I don't do research. I read research. I look up things. I bring forth stuff for this show. But anyone says, I did my own research, I'm doubting is someone that is actually going out and doing clinical trials on their own here. But it doesn't take too much of an advanced person to be able to then be able to go through, look at the results coming out of them here. Learn something new every day. Should try it sometime. Anyway, get into more of the calls here. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon.
Afternoon there. What's on your mind?
Yes, reference to one of your last callers. I think it was Harry, where he said, we shouldn't be picking on Beto, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yes. Well, it's not picking on him, but it's a critique of his policies or what he believes in. And one of the things that I noticed that I was reading about is he's a supporter of financial institutions not doing business with certain firearms vendors.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I do believe I've read that as well.
Yes, and how does it affect the border? Well, there's a lot. Texas is a big Second Amendment supporting state. I don't know about El Paso County in general.
I wouldn't say opposed to. I mean, okay, the way I look at it when it comes to localities, as like say regionally, let's look at Denver, where Denver has on the municipal level banned the possession of certain magazines and firearms. So I wouldn't say El Paso is technically neutral, I guess would be the right way to put it. You can't discharge a firearm without city limits. That's the only one that comes immediately to mind. There might be more specifics that I'm missing here, but it's not on the level of other places. So overall neutral at best, I guess is the way I'd put it.
Actually, discharging a firearm within city limits, that's a state codification.
Oh, is it a state thing? Oh, there you go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But anyway, we're in a situation right now. We need to look what's happening over in Ukraine. Okay, that nation is fighting for its life. Here we are. We have politicians wanting to disarm law-abiding citizens. Where there's even police departments in the state of New York wanting to send surplus guns to the Ukraine. Ukraine is even issuing fully automatic rifles to its citizens.
Yep, that is absolutely true. And we are looking at the most reasonable strategy I'm hearing being talked about here as well. I mean, I'm assuming that the Russians will eventually just strategically get their act together and start moving forward the way they usually do, which is usually bombing the hell out of something and then moving into it. And that there is probably going to be a just current trajectory. Again, this could change tomorrow, but a protracted resistance going on there. And that is very much, then again, also the standpoint being done by the Ukrainian government as it has done these activities.
Agreed. Now, I need to refer to that Raul character. When he talked about Trump not funding the Ukraine, as I recall, Biden was the one that opened that door when he was quoted, when he was shown on national television. Remember, he made that. Well, SOB, you're not gonna get that $1 billion if you don't fire the prosecutor. Remember that?
I mean, there's been more than a little bit of funny business going involved in Ukraine for years. They've been backburnered before, this year. But I mean, we have certain agreements that we had made with it that are now all out the window. The memo that I'm forgetting about here, the full name of it, but the idea of supporting Ukrainian, it's essentially territorial sovereignty that also Russia had agreed to, I think is also important to mention. But I mean, we are in a completely different world than we were even, last year when it comes to that situation. A lot of it was tabletop before this, and now, of course, we're seeing the reality of it.
Exactly. And my last point, as for Messiah Frankie, I respect people's opinions and views, but quit calling people a moron. Take a chill out, take a cruise, do something, but have something of substance in your talking points.
I mean, yeah, I think that, I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, but I would all like for us to have nice, civil, productive discussions all out of the day, and I will die happy immediately if that happens, I think.
Yeah, I chill out. I go for a bike ride. Take a cruise in your Edsel or something.
All right. Well, thanks for the point in the call there. I mean, I think it's important to keep reality in mind as we keep coming back to here. But I mean, there's also just in all of these situations we're describing here, it can be real easy to get overwhelmed and just get into the minutia, get way too deep into the weeds with it, and realize that there are good things. I mean, I still thank myself that I can wake up in the morning going, as we're still got this whole spring weather, whatever we're doing, kick on the heater and have running water, and particularly as opposed to all the situations we're seeing coming out of there. Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll squeeze another quick one here before we hit this next break. We do have a call on the line here. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Yeah, this is Ed, Eastside.
Hey there, Ed. What's on your mind?
Well, I caught on the Channel 9 News there last night. They interviewed a gas attendant over in Juarez, and their gas is $3 a gallon. And he said that they are getting their gas from the United States. That's kind of interesting.
I mean, I recall in, again, previous years, I mentioned at the top of the show, there being weird situations involving taxes, imports, manifestos, maybe in this case, with dealing with that. So I suspect there's probably going to be some, at least short-term chicanery going on with that. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Then another thing I heard there on the news, Russia shot down 1,700 of our aircraft in the Vietnam War. It's a shame we can't pay them back, you know. But that's the way it goes, I guess.
I think particularly, I mean, that's one stat I've heard come up here, but also things along the lines of that 40-mile convoy that may or may not have made it to Kyiv at this point. Here, that a whole lot of A-10 pilots who never got the chance to fulfill their dreams of their platform, just salivating at the thought here. So I have no desire for us to end up in that kind of a shooting war, but I have no doubt if we were to end up there, there would be quite the high price.
Yeah, that's everything about it. Well, all right, Andrew. Got a good show, buddy.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the point in the call. Do appreciate it. You have a good one there. More to get to here, more as we get closer to getting out of the show here. We got, of course, well, you know what? Next segment, we'll kind of kick off as we do here on Friday here. So we'll squeeze in that last break. I know we got a couple calls on the line. Got to get to those here, so stay there. Otherwise, stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
If you're on the I-10 eastbound approaching Piedra Street, watch out for a disabled big rig tractor trailer blocking the right lane, so stay left there. Gateway Boulevard at Ellerthorpe Ave, stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Watch for an accident at Dyer at Hayes, slowing traffic. Fred Wilson or Copia Street can be alternates. McRae Boulevard northbound at Cosmos, police on the scene of an accident. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Are you a safe driver? Are you looking to save money? With DriveWise from Allstate, the safer you drive, the more you can save. At Allstate, better protection costs a whole lot less. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
There's only one dental office in El Paso where beautiful, top-quality, long-lasting dental implants are very affordable. 1995implants.com. Other places charge $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, up to $6,000 per tooth. Please don't ever pay that much for dental implants. Instead, come to 1995implants.com. Our price includes the implant, abutment, and crown, plus a free consultation with the dentist, free standard x-rays, and convenient financing plans to fit your budget. With help from 1995implants.com, you'll no longer have cracked or missing teeth, and you'll finally be able to say goodbye to loose, old, wobbly, worn-out, uncomfortable dentures. If you're ready for a brand new smile that family and friends will rave about, then come to 1995implants.com, conveniently located right here in El Paso. For more information, see our website, 1995implants.com. That's 1995implants.com. Se habla español.
Research shows people remember radio ads that remind them of the past. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need, here's an ad that'll really take you back.
Back in my day, I heard a voice from the radio say, Liberty Mutual customizes my home insurance so I only pay for what I need. I'm getting on in years now, but heavens to Betsy, there are some things an old fella like me just never forgets.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Folks, call me a people pleaser, but I can't help that the KFC 8-piece tenders meal gives the people what they want. It's got all the KFC classics, 4 buttery biscuits, 2 heaping sides, mac and cheese and crispy fries perhaps, and 8 scrumptious KFC tenders. Enough to please everybody, people. Feed the whole family with the KFC 8-piece tenders meal. Order ahead on the KFC app. It's finger-licking good. Prices and participation may vary. Online ordering available at participating locations.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Rounding the bend here on the last segment of the show for today. Don't worry, we'll do it again tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m., but we'll get this as the unofficial kickoff for that thing we do, Free for All Friday, because we take on a lot of subjects here, and it feels like it's definitely been one of those kind of days. But tomorrow, Fridays, is the time when we do that throughout the entire program. And oh boy, do we need that pressure relief valve for this week, because we've got so much going on, so much to talk about. Anyone get this different sense besides me that these things are just continuously happening faster? Feels like we're on the up end of one of those, exponential curves of just absolute activity. It's just hard to keep track of sometimes, but we do our best, and sometimes people bring up things that surprise me, and we'll get into it. So that's the way we do it there. But squeezing in another call or two here. We do have a Jerry on the northwest side on the town of West. Let's go right now. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Andrew. And it's not just you, Andrew, that
good.
Being pressured constantly. That's by design. It's called Cloward and Piven. Their way of doing things. You had talked about the omnibus bill earlier, and I looked up some of the stuff. Today I want to tell you about some of the spending in it. Some of it's they have programs that's benefiting Venezuela and Russia.
Yep.
Tens of millions of dollars going to Venezuela and Russia. For what? They claim it to be democracy programs, but every time we seem to get into a democracy program, it ends up being a shooting war.
Yeah, guess when you put it that way.
Yeah. The other thing about that, yesterday I read it. I wish I would have saved it. It was on an article by Time on the internet, and it said that it is the Congress has authorized money for TV and press programs to promote the Ukrainian war and our effort to defend Ukraine. Now that sounds to me like that's us putting up, the United States government putting up propaganda and paying press information out there, defeating the First Amendment.
I mean, there's also, I haven't found that one specifically. I wouldn't be surprised because, among other things, there's a reason that such programs like, well, previously anyway, Voice of America was not really allowed to operate domestically because of, well, the implications that come with this here. But I also do got to say, I mean, the whole phrase going around, you're not immune to propaganda, is a persuasive one. I think a lot of people still have the idea of it's going to be on posters and it's going to be very obvious, well produced here, but that is definitely not what propaganda looks like these days. And you're absolutely getting it from all sides of this conflict. It does tend to be a little bit more obvious when it's from the Russian side of things in the conflict anyway, because there have absolutely 100% guaranteed been Russian intelligence operations, even just hacking attempts, but more subtle than that as well, that have happened domestically within this country.
Yes. And one of the things that they did do previously, our own government, is they paid the big six, I'm going to call them, the news outlets, to promote getting the shot for COVID. When the shot we're finding out is not working, it's failing, but they're not telling you that.
This is why I definitely advocate for transparency in these kind of things, because any particular aspect of it, knowing how it came about and what the payment for it is. Someone said a little bit earlier that anytime that there is a lobbyist, it probably means that there's a potential for corruption. I'm paraphrasing. They said a little bit more concisely than that. And yeah, absolutely. So this is why knowing it and having information out there is kind of key in my mind to an active and healthy country anyway.
So we need to, what I'm asking people out there to do is, now that the omnibus bill has passed the House, we need to get a hold of the Senate and stop all this stuff that's going to Russia and paying the press outlets to do the bidding of one side of the political program, particularly the Democrats. So,
well, we'll see if that can happen. I mean, this is moving through very quickly. Even I feel like quicker than previous omnibus major spending bills have. So, see if it can happen. But we'll certainly talk about it tomorrow here on the program. I guarantee that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
No, sure thing. Thank you for the point. No, appreciate the point in the call there, because there's more than we can even squeeze into 2 hours every day. Even if we didn't look at anything outside of, well, let's call it the state, because if you said just El Paso County, we could do probably a pretty good analysis of most things here. I mean, the news programs do a decent job, even if we do it completely different here. But I mean, even statewide, there's no way we could get all the implications happening elsewhere and happening and affecting us here in the borderland within a couple of hours here. A whole lot of comments coming in here as well. You just have to go and see them for yourself over there on the social pages if you really want to here. But again, as a question came up yesterday, why we take certain calls and certain points, what we do. So those pound 250 calls, this is the point in the show when we play those, because it's if there was a lull earlier in the show, we might take it then, but this is the kind of guaranteed point that if you're choosing to leave us a message through the pound 250 system, which anyone is able to, it's not a exclusive thing after all. It's real simple to do. You call, it has to be on your cell phone because landlines don't work for this. It's a digital call. You dial pound 250, all four of those symbols, the pound or hashtag symbol 250. Call that, it'll ring, and then they'll ask you to say a keyword. You respond Talk El Paso, and you can leave your own message like this.
This is Messiah Frankie. In the great words of John McEnroe, you cannot be serious. You just had on this guy, that ivermectin bozo, going on again about ivermectin and all the wonderful things about it, blah, blah, blah. This goes directly to the point that you were making about, hey, we got to get real or reality here. This guy is unreal. Come on, Andrew. You got people like this going off the deep end with this kind of stupid nonsense.
Again, if you want to leave your own message, pound 250, then say Talk El Paso. And the reason we do that at this point here is because we don't do like reservations on anything on our calls here. We have guests, we give them the time, but that's about it. But if you're wanting to leave us a message and wanting to make a statement, read something, this is the place and way to do that at this point during the program. So that's why we take these at this point. I know a question to come up about that yesterday. And yeah, we do run the show here. This is just the way we structured it. Open to suggestion, but we are also open to ignoring it entirely. So that's what we'll have to leave it there for today, because we are out of time for this program. We have covered a lot of ground here today, and we'll continue to do so tomorrow. I promise we'll delve more into the omnibus spending bill, because that's just going to be the major thing, I think, coming up. But I've been known to be wrong about that as well, so we'll see what comes up. And, of course, taking y'all's comments and calls throughout both hours tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m., as we do that whole free-for-all Friday thing here. So I want to thank everyone who did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. Seriously, of all stripes, plenty of people that disagree with me out there. Select few that find themselves agreeing with me more often than not. Don't think there's anyone out there that's in lockstep with me, which I'm happy about, actually, because I want to have the discussion. We'll do it again 4 to 6 p.m. tomorrow. So stay safe out there. Look to us for motorcycles down the road. Have a great evening, y'all.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A tractor-trailer rig is blocking the right lane on I-10 eastbound as you approach Piedras. Police on the scene of an accident, McRae Boulevard northbound at Cosmos. Missouri Avenue eastbound at Campbell, a stalled vehicle off to the right. And an accident with police on the scene, Rushing Drive south of Sean Haggerty at Round Rock Drive. You could take McCombs or Salem Drive as alternates. Gary Edwards, El Paso traffic.
New on Curiosity Stream. Hear the untold story of how the first mission to the moon almost ended in disaster.
Without that circuit breaker, they simply couldn't launch. If Armstrong and Aldrin weren't able to come home, how do you handle that as a nation?
On 1 hour that changed the world. And AI can think like us and act like us. But how close is it to replacing us? Find out on Becoming Human. It's all on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit CuriosityStream.com.
The following program were pre-recorded.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Dog Show. Up next, we have Satchmo. Satchmo is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right, a group known especially for their couch-snuggling, ball-chasing, face-licking, and, of course, companionship. Now, let's see him in action.
Look how he makes eye contact with his person.
That's actually known as the treat stare.
How intuitive, and now he appears to be excitedly turning in circles.
Ah, the happy dance so common with this group.
But really, the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Satchmo is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Why should you volunteer with Meals on Wheels?
I never thought that 5 minutes could make so much difference in the lives of two people, but it has.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. Brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio News on the hour and the KTSM. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Jussie Smollett will spend 150 days behind bars for staging a fake hate crime in Chicago. The former Empire actor was found guilty in December on 5 felony counts of disorderly conduct for lying to police about being the victim of a phony racist and homophobic attack in 2019. The White House says turmoil in global energy markets has been a large driver of rising inflation in the U.S. Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
And we have seen the increase happen as a result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Her comments followed release of the latest government inflation report. The consumer price index rose 7.9% in the last year, the biggest 12-month jump since January of 1982. Baseball will play a full season. Major League Baseball owners and players reached an agreement on a new collective bargaining agreement. Once ratified, the season will start April 7th. Increased minimum salaries are expected to be part of the new CBA that will be in place for 5 years. 6 Iowa teenagers are facing first-degree murder and attempted murder charges. They're accused of shooting and killing 15-year-old Jose David Lopez and seriously injuring 2 teen girls outside a Des Moines high school. The 2020 census undercounts Black, Latino, and Indigenous populations and overcounts white and Asian people.
That's according to estimates from a U.S. Census Bureau report. Hispanics and Latinos were missed at more than 3 times the 2010 undercount rate. Inaccurate data could mean vulnerable groups being left out, affecting resources those communities could receive. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Longtime Sesame Street actor Emilio Delgado is dead. His wife told TMZ